Wait, let me take a look at these games, right? From the FIDE Roches candidates. So, as what we're talking about, the game of Prague and Sindaro here. So, let me change my chess setting, and this should be good. All right. Okay. So, it was a Queen's Gambit decline. He played Bishop E7. You know the purpose of Bishop E7 is just trying to avoid the Carlsbad, the Bishop G5 thing. So, and then, yep, Knight f6, Bishop f4. Although Prague can still play c takes d5, e takes d5, so it doesn't really matter. Prague can still do the Carlsbad if he wants to, right? And here he castled, so everything was still bookline. Knight c6, Queen c2, Rook e8. So the threat of this move, Rook e8, is to play e5. For some reasons, after pawn to b4, here, Queen f5. After pawn to b4, normally the bishop goes back to f8 or e7. Okay, these are the two retreating squares. And I believe this move, knight takes b4, is a long time preparation of Sindaro. He has, when I'm saying long time, he has analyzed his position and thought that this could be, there could be a perfect time to play this knight takes b4. And it happened to be on the third round of the candidates. Because look, he was 131, right? And then it took him, what, 15 minutes to play the move? So he was trying to recall the line knight takes b4. And then obviously Prague just simply took d takes e3 was played. Another, what, 12 minutes was spent. Bishop d3. And then queen g6. He has thought of this move, I believe. He was just checking for 2 minutes before he played it. And then here goes f5. So for Prague, Prague is already out of his preparation after knight takes b4. Okay? He was out of his preparation. He just played the move a takes b4 quick because he is forced to do so. And then here, d takes. Took him a while before he played bishop d3. Maybe he had some experience, like a few blitz matches or a long time ago, but not in the high level of chess that he has been for a while. Queen g6, f takes c3, f5. Okay. Bishop c5. So here, I think Sindaro is also out of his prep and then trying to think what could be a much better continuation for me. Bishop c5 to attack the pawn. And then Prague played the first mistake or inaccuracy. I am trying to figure out what Prague was analyzing. Because for their level, they should be able to spot inaccuracies or what a great move to be played. So maybe Prague was trying to set up a trap here. Of course, Sindar will not capture this, and then there's bishop takes f5. Or Prague also calculated the move e5, in which he made a the wrong positional judgment. Yeah, it's true. Of course, that was smart. The knight takes b4. Correct, correct, correct. So it was out of prep. So this was just a battle of over the board chess. When we say over the board chess, both of them were out of the preparation. They're just trying to outsmart each other, and one of the best players to do that is, of course, the world number one, Magnus. He just loves to play chess, regardless, right? So, yep. So e5, bishop c2, e4. And now from this, black was just having a clear advantage. Rook d8. So, Queen to g5. I love this move, queen g5. You know, you may think that this move, queen to g5, is threatening to capture e3. That is true. But he's just using the e3 to, to have a good rerouting for his queen and threaten bishop to b4. Look, so rook e1, queen e7, bishop to b4, and now he has a good threat to the knight. Queen b2 was played, a5, rook a6. So all the moves that Prague is playing, all the moves that Prague is playing right now is somewhat, we can say, logical for his position. He's trying to put his pieces, or improve his pieces and put on the right squares, just like this knight that was on d2 earlier. He rerouted it and moved it to d4. Because the moment his knights, his other pieces are placed on the right squares, don't forget, he's up by a minor piece. Although he's down by pawns, because it's what, 2 pawns for a minor piece. But the way you count it is not 2 pawns for a minor piece. You just count it a minor piece, because the 2 pawns can be what, held by a single minor piece. Yes, a multi-purpose move. If you're a beginner, you're going to think that he's threatening e3. But if you're advanced, a master, you would understand that this is just a decoy to reroute his queen into a much better diagonal, right? And now, queen g5 was played. I was trying to figure out what is the plan, what is the threat of this move, queen to g5. And I came up with this. He thought, okay, this would be a good pin. This will tie up the queen to defend the knight on d4. And then at some point, he wants to play h5, h4. And then after the knight moves back to f1, from his positional judgment or assessment, he's just much better. Because white's pieces are, what? Pushed backwards. And now, let's continue. King b1 was played. h5. King, what's this? King a2, yep. So, look at what Prague is doing. He's trying to put his king into safety. And he wants to activate this rook. So, it's also logical, right? So, it was a good game. h4, knight f1. Bishop d7. In this position, black has fluctuate his advantage, right? So it's super slight advantage. Rook d1 was played. c8. Yep. So of course it's time for you to what, improve your knight as well. The one in f1. Rook b6 until he made this move c5. So the engine was suggesting he should have just played g3, but will you think of playing g3 here? g3, h takes g3, h takes g3, queen takes? Will you think of giving away your pawn? Right? Will you think of that? Maybe it's because of rook h1, then rook e h2, then you'll have a good attack on the h file. Then after the knight moves, if your rook is on h7, you have a good attack on g7, maybe something like that. But right now we can say that's an inhumane move. A human will not think about that. This move c5 is a logical move for a human because he wants his knight to be there. He wants to open up the light square diagonal so his bishop can also be part of the attack. Because who will say that this is not the light squares is not a weakness for black, right? So white is trying to exploit the light squares. Rook f2, where was that? Where was the rook f2 move that you were talking about? But let's see as we move forward. Then knight c4. If I was the one to play, seriously, in this position, the first move that I will think of is bishop takes c5. Yeah, bishop takes c5. I will think of this move, bishop b3 check, and then I'll move my king away. And then I'll think, oh, maybe he's going to play knight c4, and then I'll play rook b4. And then I will be able to assess, oh, I'm good here because my next threat is to play a4. So given this position, I would have played bishop takes c5. Okay, I would have played the best move. So Sindarov played rook takes c5, queen b3, king h8, and now. So this move is understandable. Queen f7. He made a blunder because their time is running low. They're trying to reach what? The 40th move. Okay, understandable. In which Sindarov pulled off a perfect sacrifice. Rook takes c2. And, okay, it's not just because of rook takes c2. If we're going back, I believe this is how you prep for moves, okay? The moment Prag played c5, or even before Prag played c5, Sindarov has already foreseen at some point of the game, okay, he can sacrifice his rook on c2 and can get a fork on this diagonal. Because that's just how you foresee moves. You will imagine. And yep, see, so he has seen this. Look, after Prag played queen f7, can you see how fast he played rook takes c2? And then, although GMs at their caliber is able to spot moves like this in a snap. Okay. Anyhow, anyway, what were you saying, Adarsha? Push h pawn, then Prag should go for rook f2. Oh, we can go over that later, but because we're almost done analyzing the game, it's almost over. So after rook takes d2, this is just almost over. King a2, and then bishop takes e3. To be honest, here, black is up by a minor piece, although both of his minor pieces are hanging, right? I would have also played bishop takes e3. Logical human move. And then this one, queen f6. Yep, you just want to trade everything off. And since they have reached, okay, they have reached the 40th move, or the 40th move. Prag resigned because he's down by what? 4 pawns. And there's no point of playing. He was just trying to reach the 40th move, and he was hoping that he will have a fair position or fair chance, although unfortunately he didn't. So going back to the move pawn to h4. Okay, let's go back there. After h4. So, wait, what? After h4, are you saying that Prag should have played rook f2? It's attacking the knight, though. Oh, wait. Maybe you meant after. Okay, after Sindarov played h5, Prag should have played rook f2 so he could have threatened the f5 square. That's true. Although after rook f2, there will be g6. I mean, this is a good solid structure. You may think that black has a lot of weaknesses. It's true, black has a lot of weaknesses, but still there's no way for white to take advantage of the weaknesses. I'm still going for black here. Although, after h4, now the knight can already go to e2. That makes a lot of sense, though. Yep. This could have been... Actually, this could have been a much different game, or the outcome could have been different. Because, yep, both of them are on a time pressure, trying to reach the 40th move. And... the knight will not be too bad on e2. Yeah, it's true. This could have been his last chance, right? Because after he let Sindarov push the pawn to h4, Sindarov got a much better feel of the position. He was playing a little bit faster than Prag, right? And also this one, the move c5. I bet Prag was planning this move c5 and then was thinking to activate his queen. What he missed is the sack on c2. I'm pretty sure he missed the sack on c2. That's it. So now we've got two sole leaders. It is Fabi and Sindarov who's going to play each other tomorrow. Now we can go over the game of Fabi. It was A horrible blunder by Wei, right? His bishop got trapped. So tomorrow, if we're going to take a look at it, so Sindarv's going to play white against Fabi. But anyway, let's take a look at the game of Fabi. Let's take a quick look. Although I checked all the games already. Fabi has been going with his ready opening, right? Ready, ready, ready. Bishop g2. So if you're able to notice, Wei has been moving fast. He has 156 while Fabi has been taking a lot of his time, right? Knight g5, because Fabi was perhaps trying to dig in, okay? Dig in his well of preparations. This one. Bishop takes c6. It took him 8 minutes to decide because he's going to win 2 pawns, right? And then look at Wei Yi. Wei Yi was still playing a little bit fast. It took him, what, 3 minutes to decide to play h6? Knight of 3, rook c8. This was just, how do I say this? An unexpected blunder, okay? Queen d5 check, knight d7. So I believe Wei has already spotted g4, this idea. And then he still castled. So maybe he was trying to set up a trap here. I just can't figure it out. But I believe he was trying to do so. Because he just won't let his bishop get trapped. So I hope we'll be able to pick into his mind. What trap is he trying to set up? Rook c5, queen b3, and then knight e5. So he was trying to attack Fabi now, I believe. But capture, capture, and look at this. Bloop! Knight d1. Just traps the bishop and loses the match. Just a blunder, right? So knight e5. So in this position, instead of castling, Wei should have just simply moved this bishop back to g4, trying to capture the knight. And it will give Fabi a king in the middle. So I think this should have been a much better move. Bishop to g4. Before he trapped his own bishop. That's it. I mean, there's really nothing much to be discussed in this game. It was just an unexpected blunder. So now, let's go over the game of Anish and Hikaru. I remember this was a reverse Sicilian, okay? What's this? Serto, who have potential to make an unexpected comeback in the later half. And the candidates. Hello, Curie. How are you? My guess. An unexpected comeback will come from a player who plays crazy games. Okay. So my number one, of course, the number one player who has a chance to have a comeback should be Hikaru. So I'm not saying Hikaru is playing bad, but he lost his first match. That's it. And then all he got was a draw from someone whom we expect to, of course, score much better or play much better, right? So Hikaru is a little bit behind, but I think he has a good chance of having a strong comeback. Who else? Yeah, so far I think, of course, Prague had his first loss, but he's 1.5 out of 3. Probably still at the bottom half, but he has a good chance of having a good comeback as well. Prague can have what, a 2-3 winning streak, and if you get 2-3 winning streak, that's a good one. Of course, Wei can come back. Yeah, I forgot to say Wei. Of course, Wei can come back. It's true. Although, of course, a big part of this is experience as well. Okay? If I'm not mistaken, this is the second candidates of Prague. For Wei, this is the first, I think. Anyhow, anyway, we can take a look at the game of Hikaru and Anish. This is instructional. If you're able to understand the position. This looks like a reverse Sicilian where white is black and then, of course, black is white. But since white goes first, white has gained one tempo, right, for the Sicilian. D3 here, E5. Bishop E3. Okay, castles. Castle capture. What black is trying to fight for is the D4 square. So there are, I think if I'm not mistaken, Magnus has played a line here where he just plays D4 right away. You know, doesn't get, he just wants to control the D4 square. G3, so this is just pretty much equal for me. Now, white has a backward pawn, but there's no way for black to take advantage of it. So you may think right now, after pawn to G3, why not just capture the bishop on F3, right? So here, why not just capture the bishop on F3? Check. Queen takes F3, and then capture the D3 pawn. It doesn't work because there's rook F D1. Let me show you. Captures, and here goes rook F to D1. And the queen is not trapped. It can go back to A6, but the bishop hangs. Okay? So, that's it. And now, after the bishop moved back, then the bishop retreated. And now, there's no way for black to win the pawn on D3. Although, it is pretty clear that black has a much better position or structure. But it is hard to convert because white play. I mean, it's hard to convert as long as white plays the right move. So it's still equal. So let's continue. Castles, knight a4, e3. So the moves may not make sense, but it's a move that doesn't. It's a move that's not a. It's not a mistake. Something like that. So a3 just solidifies, giving white a chance to play b4 later, and then stick the knight to c5, something like that. And then bishop takes, rook takes, and white should be fine. h6, yeah. So normal way to develop the pieces. There's nothing magical. Okay, there's no fancy way. Bishop f1, yep. So the bishop always has the chance to defend his pawn. So right now, let's assess. If you say white is much better because white has a pair of bishops, the answer is no. Because there's no way for the bishop to, activate itself, right? And it's called a semi-close game. And the knight has a good outpost on d4. It's easy to say again that black is much better. But the question is, how can black win? Right? How can black convert this advantage into a win? c5, trying to grip the d4 square. And then queen e2, knight d4. Yeah, I will not go for the trade. I will not go for... If I was the one playing for black, I will not play knight d4. I will think for a different move, but I'm not sure what move I'll play. Maybe I'll try to consider to play something like on how to double up my rooks. So maybe I'll play queen a4. I'm not sure if this move is right. Then I'll try to double up my rooks. Let's see. Let's see what the engine is going to say after my move queen a4. Oh, it's wrong because white can play rook c4. Okay, that makes sense and also there's b4 now. Because it opens up this diagonal. I see too. So let's go back. That's why maybe Anish spotted that white has a threat of b4. Is there a way to stop this move b4? If queen to e7. Oh, queen to e7, that's why. Because now it stops b4. But no, it still doesn't stop b4. But after b4 capture, then the queen's protecting b6. Let's see. What's the difference? So b4, knight d4, bishop takes, and now rook takes. Okay, this is understandable. Now the rook is the one on d4, not the queen. Because I didn't like when the queen was on d4, to be honest. Here, I didn't like the queen on d4. It's like, duh, you're not going to sacrifice your queen. I mean, that's just my reaction. But, of course, it's totally different when you're the one playing on the over the board, okay? So Quiniana's last few moves are Divya and Vaisali. Oh! The queen takes h3? Woot, 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 right? Vaisali is just a force. It runs through the blood of, what do you call this? It runs through their genes. Wait, Pragnananda. 98. Okay. Queen b2. Now, this is just close to equal for me. There's still black has the advantage, but what will black do, right? How can you convert it? Hikaru is good at playing positions like this, you know? Hikaru loves to attack, but he can also defend passive positions. Can you believe white is already white has recovered in this position? Rook c3, trying to double up. Yeah, he doesn't even try to do anything. Oh, I remember. So let's move forward, okay? I'll fast forward because I saw this position because I was trying to calculate. So this one is capture, capture, check, capture, bishop f1, knight f6, king g2. Here. So I was thinking, why didn't black capture? Of course, there's a chess tactic here. If black plays knight takes e4, although it will still end up in a draw. There's this move, perhaps rook a check goes here, and then bishop to d3, pin, and if rook e1, there'll be f3. Knight is gone. So black is logically forced to play this move, f5, and white has an option to play what? Capture, capture, and then this is just a draw. Rook e8, or even rook a4. Yeah, so this is just a draw, I believe, if I'm going to turn on the engine. Yep, told ya. Because after rook c5, then rook e6. Ta-da! There's a lockdown. There's a massive lockdown. Goes here, I go here. King f8, I just play rook a7. This is double. There's no way for this pawn to improve itself. You can consider this one pawn. And then white will still threaten one of these pawns. Maybe, let's say rook c2 was played, then the king just goes back to f1 to avoid a move like e3. So the next move is already to play rook a5. And if it goes back, then it'll be king e2. Then it will attack. If black plays something like e3, then we'll just capture. And this is just an easy draw assessment, right? Both rooks are cutting off both kings. That's why it's a draw. Okay. So much for this. Yep, because this is a draw as well. Let's move on to the game of Esipenko and Blue Bomb. You know, for Blue Bomb, he hasn't lost a game. So you can still say that Blue Bomb is in his momentum. Okay? He hasn't lost a game. Andre lost one, of course, the first round against Javokir. So this one I remember. Yep. This is almost the same as like the game of Wei on the first round. Wei against Blue Bomb, where black has an isolated pawn. So if there's an isolated pawn, the main idea of black is to push the pawn to d4 whenever he gets the chance without any risk. So here, after rook c1, you may think black can play d4, but not yet, because if black plays d4, there is knight b5. Discover attack the bishop, and then the knight will be attacking d4. So black will be outnumbered. So let me show you. d4, there's knight b5. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 attackers. Well, black only has 3 defenders, right? 1, 2, and 3. So white will win a pawn. Don't forget this. The bishop is under attack. Now, let's go back. Rook c1, rook c8 was played. Bishop d3. So, Andre is trying to fight for a win here. He's not like just fighting for a draw. He was looking for a win. Queen e7, and now after queen to e7, black is preparing to play d4. Look, d4, bloop. So this is how you deal with your isolated pawn. You have to push it to remove it. Excuse me. So e takes d4, knight takes. And after all the trades, the position looks balanced again, right? For them, it just balanced. But maybe for us, for our levels, this is 50-50. But one thing I can say that both of them knows how to deal with this position, okay? That they're comfortable by just looking at their time. They haven't spent, okay? They haven't spent an hour and they are already on their 22nd move, which means they're just comfortable, right? They just know how to deal with this position. So situations like this ends up in a draw 9 out of 10 times. So for d4, yep, and then trade. And there's really nothing much for both sides to do to win. Black's king is active, but since there's a bishop, it prevents the king from going to the e4 square, right? It's just on time. But if there is no bishop, there's no bishops, black wins for sure. But of course, white will not trade off his bishop. Look at what they're doing. Okay, let me explain something on what they're doing. Remember the theory of, or the guideline when it comes to good and bad bishop? If your bishop is on, if your pawns are on the same color of your bishop, your bishop's square will be limited, right? Because your pawns will be blocking the path of your bishop. And look at what they were doing. Both of them were trying to put their pawns on the dark squares, right? Funny. Of course. How can they not know? They're the elites of the elites, and this is a draw. There's no way to penetrate. If black tries to play something like king d5, there will be bishop b3 check, and then the king has to go back again, and the bishop goes back. Something like that. Okay? Now, as per the request of Adarsha, we can go over the game of Vaisali and Divya. Where was that? Bibisara. Whoop, 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 whoop. Wow. Bibisara is just ferocious. Where was that? What the? So the draw. Where was the draw? Divya Vaishali yesterday. Remember it? The Saki. So this one. I saw this online, using my phone. So it was a video, a shorts, okay? So after the move knight to g5, I was thinking, where should I move the queen? My move was even queen f4, and it's also not good because, right, obviously, right? So now the correct move is queen to g4. Just trade off the queens, baby. Ta-da! This knight is what? On a feast. It's on an outpost. The rook is on the 7th rank. This rook is held to protect the A passer, but black has knight e4. After knight takes, d6, and then rook b4, and white has a passer. I see. Which makes it better for white. And now there's f3, g takes. Oh, this is also scary. I would not consider to play f3 actually. But is it forced? Yeah, because of this. So let's say rook a6 was played. Okay? Rook c4, king f6. Okay, king goes to h2, king goes to g3. This makes sense. Because, you know what? For example, white plays f3, right? Capture, capture. The white king can just go all the way here, okay? Just can't do that. Because black can create an outside passer. So this is still scary. Yep. So the correct was rook c5. Wow, this is great. And then push the pawn. And then slowly move the king. E4, king e3. Now this is a win. This is understandable. That's how white can win. But the game didn't end that way. The game ended in a more spectacular way, in which black was able to save himself. Yes, this is the Divya Vaishali match, right? So, was it Divya? Yeah, Divya played queen g3. I love this. There's queen takes h3, right? Rook takes e5, queen e5 check. Then Divya thought this is a win because she has 58 seconds. So they were just trying to hold on and get to the 48th move. But I believe Vaishali already saw this. Then this is a draw. Rook a1. Yep. This one, there's just no way. There's no way because I think g5, king g6, king f5. So there's just no way for both sides to win. They've got equal pawns. For example, black plays something like g5. White plays a5. King g6. Maybe a6. King f5. a7. Now, black can capture the pawn because there's rook e8, check, and then promotes, right? So the black king needs to hide. He needs to use the pawns. So the rook won't be able to give him a check and then have a free move to promote. But this one, e6. Woohoo! After e6, f takes, there is rook e8. Woohoo! Black is forced to take, then checks. King has to run away, maybe king to d3. What if king to d... No. King to d3 doesn't make sense, just this hangs, right? Maybe king f5, then captures, and then they end up having 3 versus 3. Then black can play h5. Black can just simply sacrifice that pawn. Look, sacrifice, d4. Capture, capture. This is a draw. There's just no way. Because, there's no way for the pawns to promote. If you understand the I forgot the name of the theory when it comes to the rook and pawn, and then the king is just able to block. Philidor, the Philidor theory. So this is just a draw. In order for the pawn to win, to be promoted, the king must be in front of the pawn, like this. And then the king should not be in front of the kings because the king is blocking the pawn's path, right? So this king must be on the side to get into the Lucena position. Anyway, this is a good one.